Thank you for tuning in to Nonprofits Talk. On this show, we discuss topics related to nonprofit capacity building, specifically in the areas of marketing and fundraising. I'm your host, Terrence Harrington. Over the past few weeks, we've had some awesome guests who provided some great tips and ideas on capacity building. So tonight, I would like to do a recap of some of those shows. On our April 1st show, our guest was Clara Carrier. Now, Clara talked to us in general about capacity building. So some of the things that she talked about was, getting your leadership together, making sure that your organization had the capacity to provide the programming that you wanted to provide. And that was your mission. Whatever you started your nonprofit organization to do, you want to definitely be able to provide the services that your constituents can take advantage of. So one of the things that you want to possibly tap into, some of the highlights from the show that I wrote down was develop a strategic plan. Now that strategic plan includes, you consider that somewhat like a business plan for a nonprofit organization. That's going to be your roadmap to allow you to, again, provide the services that you want to provide, get the money that you want to get in order to provide those services, so on and so forth. So if you can't afford to pay somebody to come do a strategic plan for you, you might want to consider going on the internet. And the internet tonight is going to be your go-to. So go on the internet, do a search for strategic plans, and you'll be surprised of the sample of strategic plans that you'll come across. And don't copy it word for word, but if something fits your organization, take a look at it, see how you can adapt it, and apply it to your organization. Another thing that you want to do is develop a fundraising plan. Again, these are things that Clara talked about on our April 1st show. So you develop a fundraising plan, and what that plan is going to do is, again, give you a roadmap to how are you going to get the money to run your program. So with the fundraising plan, you want to be able to talk about what grants you're going to go after, what events you're going to host, if you're going to go after sponsorships and things of that nature. Again, if you don't have the money to hire a consultant to do a fundraising plan, you want to go on the internet, do a search, go to the library, wherever you need to go to get that information. I say the internet because it's readily accessible, and you go on there, you just type in google.com or whatever your search engine that you like to use and search for a fundraising plan. And again, don't copy it word for word. But take out of there what you can use and how it applies to your nonprofit. In addition to the fundraising plan, you want to create a marketing plan. And so in that marketing plan, how are you going to get the word out about your organization? Because we've been talking about over the past few weeks that most small nonprofits in particular are the best kept secrets in the community. So once you create that marketing plan, you want to be able to map out how are you going to get the word out about your organization. What type of social media you're going to use. Are you going to do any paid advertising, so on and so forth. So again, going back to the internet, if you don't have the money to purchase or pay for a consultant, do a search for marketing plans, nonprofit marketing plans, and you'll find a laundry list of information that you can apply to your organization. Again, not copying word for word, but you'll be able to use it and market your organization. Another thing that nonprofits fail to do because of budget restrictions, because of the day-to-day operations, is provide quality training for your employees. So that's something that you definitely want to do as a capacity building component. You want to pay for professional development for your staff. Now, again, if you don't have the funds to do that, what you possibly want to do is tap into organizations like I apologize, it skipped in my mind. TechSoup. TechSoup offers free training that you can, they do webinars and things of that nature. Again, do a Google search for what you need as far as capacity building concerns are. Whether it's your program development manager needs, training on how to execute the program. You want to be able to say, hey, what type of training can I send this person to? So those are things that Clara covered. If you have any questions about it, feel free to give us a call at area code 312-738-1060. Again, that's 312-738-1060. Now, our next show our guest speaker was Marky Lemons Ryle. Marky came on and she talked to us about social media. Now, social media is something that you just can't get away from it. You have to have that in your arsenal of marketing. You definitely want to come up with a plan for social media. Now, one of the things that Marky talked about was create a social media content calendar. So one of the concerns that I've heard from nonprofit peers is, well, where do we get the content from? Well, you can go onto Google AdWords, and what you do is you put a search in Google AdWords. So if you focus in on homelessness, if you focus in on poverty, put these key search words in Google AdWords, and on a daily basis, you'll get updates about what's happening in those particular focus areas. So that's a tool that you can use. You also want to identify if you already have a go-to list service that you use, like if you go to CNN or places like that, you want to set up a Feedly account. And so in that Feedly account, you put your CNN, you put your whatever news source that you utilize, ABC, and you put them into that search. And what will happen is on a daily basis in your Feedly, you'll get information about whatever your focus area is. Again, if that's homelessness or poverty, you'll be able to get that information right into your inbox. And so you start curating that information, and then you can also, put it on your website. Now, before just blindly putting information on your website, you definitely want to get the permission from the original source. And you definitely want to give them credit for the information that you're putting on your website. Then you also want to create a list of Twitter handles that you typically share content from. So if you follow somebody on Twitter and you find yourself always sharing their information, definitely keep that handle in a list. And, that's another source of content that you can get and put on your website, and, or get information to start possibly a blog or something like that. So also, I know another concern that nonprofits have, when do I have the time to really be doing all of this with social media? Well, there's a service, just enlist a service like Hootsuite, where you can schedule the content to be, days out, weeks out, however long you want it, and so you've already, put your calendar together. And so you took the information from your calendar, about what you're going to post, and then you just schedule it in the Hootsuite, buffer, do share, and deliver it. Those are some tools that you can use as a nonprofit to beef up your social media. And again, if you have questions about that, feel free to give us a call here tonight, 312-738-1060. Again, it's 312-738-1060. Now, our next guest, the next show that we had, and we're having just a little technical difficulty here. The next show that we had was Shelby Parchment. Now, Shelby came on and he talked to us about starting a church-owned business. So one of the things that we've encountered at Nonprofits Matter, we run into a lot of faith-based organizations where they're suffering from a stewardship crisis. They've relied on tithes and offerings for the past umpteen years. And so that it's a flawed model, and they're beginning to suffer. Churches are beginning to suffer from just utilizing that particular model. So what Shelby came on to talk about was possibly starting a social enterprise for that church. And it didn't just stick to churches, but nonprofits as well, could start businesses. If you're thinking about starting a daycare center or a bookstore at your church, whatever it is, the first thing that Shelby said that you're going to possibly need to do is do some research about that type of business. So once you do the research, again, you can go to the library, you go online, and just do a Google search for whatever type of business that you're looking to start, and that information is readily available for you. So once you find out what type of business you want to start, the next step is to create a business plan. And so Shelby told us, all of the things that we needed to include in the business plan. So again, if you can't afford a service or an attorney to write that business plan for you, go to the internet, and that information is readily available. There are also software out there that you can purchase and utilize to create your own business plan. So once you do a search for the type of business that you want to see or bring to the marketplace, then do a search on the internet to see if there's a business plan for example, a daycare center. And once you get that business plan, what you want to do is, see what you can, because we're not talking about reinventing the wheel. You just get that business plan, see what applies to your particular organization and what you could use, and, kind of duplicate it. But again, not stealing, word for word, but, create your own business to make it work for your organization. Our next guest was on April 22nd, and that was Nathan Lee Jones. Now, Nathan came on and he talked about elements of an effective nonprofit website. So one of the things that we talked about on that particular show was when you create your website, think of your website as your home. When you invite somebody to your home, it should be welcoming, inviting, and so on and so forth. We always talk about uninvited guests at our home, but on the website, we want as many unwelcome guests as possible to drop by our website. Now, once they drop by your website, you want to be able to provide engaging content. So you have to take advantage of today's technology. If your website hasn't been updated in the past 5 years, then it might be time for you to create a new website. So one of the things, once you get that website created, and maybe you can't do it internally, but in the day that we live in, there are things like WordPress, Drupal, Joomla, and other content management systems that your organization could possibly take advantage of and start creating a website that you all can handle in-house. But things that you want to keep in mind when creating your website, make it engaging, because you don't want a visitor to come to your site and they're not staying there. Excuse me. Another thing that you want to do, make it interactive. So you put surveys on there, polls, contests, things of that nature that is going to keep the traffic coming back to your website, keep people coming there, and also start your blog on your website. Because the key thing with your website, and I know a lot of nonprofits say, well, I have Facebook, I have Twitter, I have all of these other things, so why invest so much time into my website? The thing about Facebook and Twitter, if they were to disappear today, any contacts, any databases that you've created on those social media platforms, they go with that social media platform. But with your website, when you start curating email addresses and creating that database, then that's yours. And so again, you can find ways to possibly monetize your list that you have, because marketers actually pay for those type things. So those are things that you want to keep in mind. Learn how to use the analytics from your website. And if you're not familiar with analytics, again, YouTube and Google, all of these places are your friends. So just do a search in YouTube and you'll find a lot of videos talking about how to use website analytics. And so that'll tell you what pages people are going to and how long they're staying on there. What search engines did they use to get to your website? All of these things that you can use to better prepare your website to get more traffic and so on and so forth. Our next guest was on April 29th, and that was Heidi Massey. Now, Heidi came on and she talked to us about some of the things that I just touched on, technology, nonprofits and technology. And part of that technology and capacity building is being sure that you're taking advantage of the free online tools that exist. So some of those tools, like I spoke about earlier, TechSoup. TechSoup actually provides free and low discounted software. They also provide trainings that you can take advantage of. So also GuideStar is a tool that you want to tap into as a nonprofit. That's where 990s are, and you can find out what other organizations are doing, and then definitely put your organization up there, because a lot of people do a search through GuideStar when they're looking to donate to organizations. Razoo is another online tool that you can take advantage of. They help you with your fundraising. So all of these free tools exist that you can take advantage of to, again, make your nonprofit stronger and healthier. Another thing you want to do is do an audit of your current technology. Your current technology includes your computers. If your computer is 5 years old, it's outdated, you might want to consider, and I know money is tight, so talking about doing an expense like a computer, may be something that, just far off in the distance, but it's something that you want to consider and think about because of the fact that in order for your organization to be competitive in today's market, you have to have the tools and the resources to be able to do so. Our next guest was on May 6th, and Jonathan Briggs was our guest expert. Now, Jonathan talked to us about being media ready, getting your nonprofit organization in the media. And I know some organizations will say, well, I don't want to be in front of the media. That's the problem. You're the best kept secret in the community because nobody knows about you. So you want to definitely think about getting press releases done. And not only just doing a press release talking about a gala, but you want to do a press release talking about some of the lives that you've impacted with your nonprofit. Make yourself media ready and media friendly. Other things that Jonathan talked about, because one concern may be, well, I don't know what reporters are doing what. One of the ways to access reporters here in Chicago, you can take advantage of Chicago Media Workshops Media Guide. Now, that is a paid subscription, but they've done the legwork for you, and they put a list together of all the journalists here in the Chicagoland area. Another way, a free way that you can do this is go on Twitter, because most journalists, they tap into their Twitter feed quicker than they do their emails. So you want to get their Twitter handle and follow what they're doing, and then reach out to them, tweet with them, and start that engagement with them so they'll know that, hey, your organization is in existence and this is what you're doing over there. Also, Jonathan informed us to create a story bank. And what a story bank is collected information of different stories that you have in your organization. And just in case the media comes looking for a story, you're already ready. You have a story bank of stories that are available for that journalist to take advantage of and utilize. So the next show we had was on May 13th, and we talked about nonprofit storytelling. And our guest that day was Margina Christian. Margina came on and she talked about telling the human story of your organization. So often we talk about statistics in nonprofits, we forget that people respond to real stories and real people. So one thing that you might want to do is profile a client, a volunteer, or a staff member at your organization. Tell their story. Why did they choose your organization to be involved with? And that way the rest of the world will be able to see what's going on with your organization through their eyes. Also, do a series showing what it's like working behind the scenes at your organization. That would be something that, because people don't know all the ins and outs of a nonprofit. They think that, it's just, you're not making any difference in the world. Some people know that nonprofits are making a difference in the world, but for whatever reason, the community-based nonprofits that aren't the Susan G. Colemans, that aren't, the Red Cross, they are go unnoticed. So, start telling your story. Tell the behind-the-scenes stories of what happens on a day-to-day basis at your organization, or capture a day in the life. A day in the life of one of your clients, a day in the life of one of your staff members, a day in the life of one of your volunteers. Because, again, you're painting a picture where people can actually see themselves either providing time, talent, or treasure to your organization. And so you're positioning yourself to be able to stand out amongst the crowd. Build a legacy story. Why did you start your nonprofit organization? Or why is the nonprofit that you work for in existence? So, sometimes organizations have been in existence so long, they forget, what the foundation was. And so if you start building that legacy story and telling that story, then you'll get more people to get involved with your organization. Our next guest was on May 27th. And that guest was Nora Brathel. And Nora talked to us about using social media to promote events. So some of the takeaways that Nora left us with was create a video that people would want to share. So do a promo video about that event that's coming up, and let it go viral. And so a lot of people will start sharing that video on social media. Also, give away tickets to that event, because that's going to create a buzz. Hey, are you going to such and such event? I got free tickets over here, Interview the guest speakers that are going to come down to the event, so do interview those guest speakers and put it on your blog, put it on your website, put it on your Facebook page, your Twitter page, so on and so. And again, you want to build excitement about the event. Create a tweet for attendees, use your hashtags, build that excitement about the event that's coming up. And again, all of this is free, utilizing social media. And most definitely post your event on Twitter and Facebook, because that gains traffic. Twitter and Facebook, they're SEO ready, and so they're going to, come up in the search engine's top, search requests. And so therefore, your event will be at the top of Google or whatever search engine that exists out there. Our next guest was Tamora, and that was last week actually. Tamora Walls-Hughes. Tamora talked to us about grant proposal writing. Grant proposal writing 101. This is the bread and butter for most nonprofits. So if you're new and you're sometimes missing grants, she gave us some great tips on how to really be competitive in that arena. So one thing that she informed us to do is identify the needs and focus. Why are you going out looking for a grant? So you have to identify the needs and the focus of why you actually need this money. Find prospective grants. So don't just wait for RFPs. Be proactive and start looking for grants that your organization can possibly apply for. Develop a general proposal and a budget. So it's a boilerplate proposal that you would create, and you're already on the ready. So when those deadlines hit you have a proposal that's already ready. And you have to just change it here and there to fit that particular grant funder's needs, and so on and so forth. But one thing that you want to keep in mind when you're cutting and pasting, please change the name. It's kind of bad when you send a proposal with another organization's grant funder's name on there, and you're writing for a grant for this agency to give you money. So they kind of frown upon that. So be aware of that. Also, adhere to the formatting and content requirements of that particular funder. So when a funder says that they wanted, double spaced, they want it on linen paper, they want all of these bells and whistles, you make sure that you follow those guidelines and see what their buzzwords are. If they are really focused in on, feeding the homeless, and that's what your organization does, try to mirror what their voice is in their RFP. Because, again, that's going to set you apart from the rest, because we all know that trying to get a grant in this day and age is very competitive. So that's why you want to definitely try not only just do the grant writing, but diversify your funding needs. So, again, that June 3rd show was the last show that we did last week with Tamora Walls-Hughes. So hopefully during watching Nonprofits Talk, we provided some content that's useful to you, that you can use and take back to your organizations. Also, if you want to see any of the shows that I talked about tonight, you can go to our website, which is www.nonprofitsmatter.org. Let me put it over on the overhead for you. That's www.nonprofitsmatter.org. And what you'll find over there is all the videos that I talked about. You'll find out what we do at Nonprofits Matter. And, actually, what we like for you to do is start submitting some of your stories about your organization, and we can actually feature them on our website. So like we say almost every week on this particular show, if people don't know you exist, they can't support you. So again, remember, Nonprofits Matter. Continue to build your capacity building, and we'll see you next week.